Good afternoon, and welcome to another conversation on the front porch here at Advent Christian Village. My guest today is Frank Hurst, and Frank happens to be my across the street neighbor. We live in Riverwoods. But Frank, that's not your first residence at the village.
No, it isn't. I was in the Lawrence house for 2 years.
And then you decided you should have some yard to work in?
I needed to get my hands dirty and get back in the work of the yards and remodeling some of the house.
Well, we're glad you're living in our neighborhood. I'm sure the folks in Lawrence House are sorry to see you go.
Some of them were. They've had such a turnover that some of them I didn't even know hardly.
Right. How about telling our viewers where you were born and a little bit about your early life?
I was born in Moultrie, Georgia, and I left Moultrie when I was still in diapers, and we moved around a couple of different places, and then I ended up in Albany, Georgia. And I was in Albany up until I graduated out the back door of the high school.
And how does one graduate out the back door?
I retired early. I quit.
Oh, okay. What are some of your fondest memories of growing up?
Well, my mother died when I was quite young, but prior to her passing away, I'd say one of my fondest memories, it would be on Sunday afternoons driving from my home back to my grandmother's home in Moultrie and listen to gospel hymns on the radio. And that's probably my fondest of all, other than some of my summers that I spent on the farm with my favorite uncle.
And what did he farm?
What did he farm? Oh, back in those years, the big thing was tobacco, and the second runner-up was cotton. Mm-hmm. Both lots of labor.
I don't know a lot about farming, but that I did know
That's
that would
lots
be.
of labor.
And when you snuck out the back door of the high school in Albany, what did you do?
Joined the United States Marine Corps.
And where did you go for your basic
I
training?
went to Paris Islands, and I thought sure I would go from Paris Islands straight to Korea, but they fooled me. They took me from the nice, warm, southern temperatures and sent me in January to New Jersey. And I saw more snow and ice than I've ever seen in my life.
Before or since?
And of course, where did I retire from the Marine Corps? New Jersey. Almost in New Jersey, in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm.
And how long did you serve?
27 years.
And in that time, where did you serve?
Whew, all over the world, just about. When I was in the States, most of my time was in North Carolina. I was in aviation, and I started off in fixed-wing transports, and then I got transferred to helicopters and fell in love with helicopters and stayed there till I retired. And I took every aviation school that I could get, which led me right straight to a good career when I retired. I had 2 days of wonderful retirement and had to start to work for American Airlines in West Palm Beach as Director of Maintenance Training.
And how long did you do that?
I did that up until 1997, and then I retired again. And that's when I moved from West Palm up here.
And up here meaning?
First I moved to Greenville, and I lived in Greenville until about 2 years after I lost my wife. And after she was gone, all that property and all that work got to be too much. So I sold it and moved here to Dowling Park.
How did you know about Dowling Park and Advent Christian Village?
My father-in-law was getting on in age, and he was getting a little decrepit, and we were looking for some place to move him to that would really be good for him. And we found Dowling Park, so we moved him down here, and he stayed here until he passed on.
But that was a good bit earlier than you moved here.
Oh yes, ma'am, several years before.
Mm-hmm. So you had known a long time before
Oh,
you
yeah,
came.
sure did. And I knew when I sold my place in Greenville where I wanted to go. And I had already come down here and talked to Karen Thomas. Got moved into the Lawrence house.
What, and you said you lost your wife. When were you married and you have children? Is that right?
I do. My wife I met in West Palm. And back in 13, she was killed in a car wreck down here just south of us, 53 and 27. And we were just short of 20 years together. Good Christian woman.
What about your daughter and other children? Or?
Ooh, I got 3 of them.
Okay, tell us about them.
I have a daughter in North Carolina. Her husband is with American Airlines. And she has 2 children. One is overseas somewhere with the Air Force, and the other one is in Boise, Idaho. So that's 2 of my grandchildren. Then I have 2 more grandchildren in Austin, Texas, with my son. And then, let's see, I have 2 more grandchildren in Missouri. And one of those is graduating this next term. And the other one is coming right close behind her. So I have plenty of grandchildren.
And plenty of places to go to visit.
Plenty of places. And this one says move here, and I said no. This one says move here, and the other one says move here. So you can't move to all 3 of them. So I stay here.
And I'm glad that you did.
I have wonderful neighbors here.
During your career in the military, you said you served all over the world. Where was your most favorite place you served?
Oh, most favorite, where would I say? I would probably say the Philippines. And the reason I would choose the Philippines, I know they're kind of a little backwards from us, but the people are just as sweet and nice as they can be. So I thoroughly enjoyed the people. And I have gone back 3 times on mission trips since I've been here.
Back to the Philippines.
Yes, ma'am. In fact, I took my wife with me once before she was taken away.
When you were, what would you do on those mission trips?
The biggest thing was go around visiting and talking with people and presenting the gospel. One of the funniest things that ever happened over there, they have what they call jeepneys, and that's like the bus transportation. It's an enlarged open Jeep is what it is. And one day I was on one of those riding to my destination, and I got to talking to the others that were on the jeepney. And it's just a jump on, jump off. And we got to talking about the Lord and presenting the gospel to them. And they got so interested in listening to what I was presenting to them, they forgot to get off at their stops.
Well, I bet they were glad they stayed on and got
I
to
think they were. They seemed to be very happy.
I know you like to travel.
Oh,
Tell us
love it,
about some
love
of
it.
your travels.
Whew, I just come back from a wonderful trip that I had always wanted to do and finally did it. I went for my second trip to Israel, and then from Israel I went loner by myself to Turkey. I spent a week in Turkey by myself and then joined another tour group. We toured Turkey and left Turkey, went down through the islands, and then went up and did the churches in Greece. And the Turkish people are another group that are amazing. You would think, like, if you're not for sure about the people, you would think them being Muslim, how they're going to be dressed. My first morning sitting in the restaurant down at street level with all glass insides so that you could see people walking all over town, you would have thought you were sitting in Jacksonville, Florida or Atlanta, Georgia. Blondes, redheads, brunettes, mini skirts, short shorts, you name it, they got it.
And they were Muslims?
They were Muslim, and they're all Muslim.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would have thought,
But they're just as sweet and nice as they can be, and you'd never know that they were Muslim. I was amazed.
I think most people would be.
Yes, everyone I tell is saying, "You're kidding."
No,
Nope.
You were talking about in you being all over the world in your service. Did you flew on the helicopters, or you were?
I was supposed to be running the avionics shop, which I did. But like in Vietnam, I flew on my first tour in Vietnam. I flew every day. So I flew right at 1,000 hours, and I think for like 280 missions.
And how many tours did you have in Vietnam?
2.
For a period of how long?
Oh, the first one I was there 15 months, and the second one was 13 months.
And I know that was difficult service.
It was not nice, not nice.
Well, we happened to be on a tour to D.C. through the Madison Travel. And I remember you getting to go to the Veterans Memorial Wall there, the Vietnam veterans. Had you been before?
I never got up the courage. I would get close, especially to the traveling wall. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it.
One of my high school classmates' name was on the wall, and I had been a couple of times, but it's moving to me every time I've been.
Oh, yes.
And I can imagine having served there, it would be even more so, incredibly more so. But thank you.
Too many names on there. Mm-hmm. Some of them very close friends.
Well, you have traveled a lot. What else is on your bucket list?
Well, I've got Nova Scotia coming up. That's on my list for later this month. And I am hoping and thinking and planning about going to Scotland and Ireland next year during the spring. And then I have one more that I want to do. I've been to Egypt, to around Cairo and around in that area, but I want to go back and go up to around the Valley of the Kings and all up in that area. History is really something to me over there.
They have a lot of it.
Oh, yes,
they
do.
Long history.
A long history. And it's quite interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Have you been to Scotland and Ireland before?
I never have. Been close, but never there.
About 3 years ago, I went to Ireland for the first time.
Oh.
It's one of the places I had always wanted to go. I would highly recommend it.
Everyone does. My daughter was there last year, and she highly recommended it.
If you were giving your grandchildren advice or other young people, what advice would you give them?
Get closer to the Lord and hold on. Mm-hmm. I have some that are close, some that are mediocre, and some that are a little cold. And I would like to see them all close.
You were talking about your time doing mission work in the Philippines. What other kinds of mission work have you done? Have you done similar or church outreach?
That's basically all I've done. I've been to India and then to the Philippines.
Well, that's quite a lot, not just only. What would you say was a turning point in your life, in your faith? Or was it always a part of your, I know you talked about early gospel music.
Well, my turning point, I used to be a very heavy drinker and smoker. And I'd tried to break myself of the habit of being a heavy drinker. And I never was successful. And I prayed to the Lord one night, and I was not a Christian, that to please take this away. And I have not wanted a drink since that.
Was that a long time ago?
Yes, ma'am, sure was. 1975.
Well, congratulations. There's a lot to be said, and I admire somebody who can do that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
And that was kind of a first step of moving me away from my wicked life and closer to the Lord. But I still wasn't ready to give up. And I didn't. I got closer, but I didn't give up until, when was it, 1991. I came home from work one afternoon, and my wife just right out of the blue said she wanted a divorce. And that just tore me up. And I remember sitting out by the pool praying my heart out, and the Lord just said, "Oof." And there was just an immediate change. And my vocabulary went, my cigarettes went, and the following Sunday I was in church where I should have been all the time. And I've been holding on tight.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
Very good thing. Have you done some volunteer work at the village?
I've done a little. I was volunteering over at the Copeland Community Center, but my hearing got so bad I couldn't hear on the telephone. Mm-hmm. So I had to stop. It was embarrassing to answer the phone and not know what people were saying. Mm-hmm. So I had to quit that. But I still do a lot of physical work over for the garden club. They have a lot of power equipment, mm-hmm. gasoline powered, so I maintain all of that for them. And the irrigation system, I maintain that. Fix all the leaks.
That's an important job.
Yes, it is.
Well, I can say that the garden is looking great, and it's because of, everybody who is involved there is not a gardener. They do all the things to support gardening.
Well, I did garden right up until just a couple of months ago, and I had to quit because of my back. Mm-hmm. Getting old and worn out.
No, just getting ready for more miles. What was the most surprising thing to you about moving to the village?
The most surprising and enjoyable was the people. There are some nice people down here, and they have just been a joy.
Do you have, because Greenville is not too far from here, some of our viewers may not know that, but are there people you've known for a long time before you moved here? Did you know people who are already living here?
I did. One of our neighbors.
Tell us who that is.
Dot and Fred Devane.
And how long had you known them?
Oh, goodness. I've known Dot and Fred since right around 2000.
Mm-hmm. They're nice neighbors. They're
yes,
very nice
are.
neighbors.
They are great neighbors.
You've talked a lot about the things you enjoy doing. Do you have any special interests or hobbies you haven't talked to us about?
I just love fixing things that are broken and people have gotten tired of them and discarded them. I like to fix them and restore them and put them back in good shape.
So other than the garden equipment, what's the last thing you restored?
Oh, that house that I just bought.
Is that a never-ending project? Or are you
yes,
puzzling?
ma'am, that is a project that's never ending.
Well, you've certainly done a great job in the yard.
Well, I'm still working on that one.
What else would you like to tell us that I haven't asked you about?
Oh, goodness. I think you've asked me about everything I can think of.
Oh, well, good, and you've shared a lot of information in a very sufficient manner. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
And I hope the viewers will tune in to see other episodes of Front Porch Conversations.